Hey everybody, it's Joe, and it's June 11th. It's the evening of 2020, and this is your edition of What in the Hell? What in the absolute hell is going on? And it's getting harder and harder for me to just be in existence in the world today and be censored or have to really watch what I say. I'm blown away by what's going on all around us. And so enough is enough. There's been a lot of things going on over the last several months between COVID, between the killing of George Floyd, the protests, the riots, the just division of the people in this country, and the amount of hatred that is going around. It just absolutely breaks my heart because I see, despite everything going on, I still have hope. And I don't know why. I really genuinely don't know why, but I have hope that we are way better than what we're putting on display. And here's the thing. Just as we would tell any police officer, everything you do is recorded, video, audio. It doesn't just go for police, right? The citizens of this country, so much of what you're doing between social media, between the media outlets being everywhere all the time, recording people's actions, seeing which side you're on, everything we're doing is being recorded. And are you showing your best self? Are you showing your honest self? Or are you putting on a show to try and communicate a message that maybe isn't even yours? There's a couple things I want to talk about that I think are important. They're timely, they're frustrating. But again, it's hard for me to like sit back and just be at work or be at home and just think like, what is going on? It blows my mind. All right. And so just real quick, the first thing I want to talk about is this case that's relatively recent. I think the story just broke yesterday, but this officer in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Look, this is another case in point of an officer getting so caught up in the moment, losing perspective of having what I call a win mindset. And a win mindset is not what happened in this case. A win mindset is asking yourself in each moment, what's important now? What is important now? That is a win mindset. Yes, this individual had a parole probation warrant. Yes, he's a wanted individual. You are on body camera. You pull this guy over. He gets out of the car. He takes off running. It happens. You catch him. That happens. In the process of the struggle, you say, I'm going to effing choke you out, bro. While you have cover, officers, you have help. Yes, he's struggling. Yes, it's going on for more than 4 minutes. We don't know what substance he has on board, if any. We don't know if there's weapons involved at this point, if any. But when you say things like, I'm going to effing choke you out, bro, and then the guy dies right there on scene on the side of the road, now you're fired. Now you're charged with manslaughter. For what? For what? And again, I do believe this officer before this call was not thinking, I'm going to go kill somebody. But that's how quick it can happen. That's absolutely how quick it can go from 0 to 100 because you get so caught up in the moment and you have this hunter versus prey mentality of I'm going to catch them and whatever it takes to get them into custody. And I would just ask, like, what is important now? Because who knows if this officer has a wife, has a spouse, if he has kids, who knows? But his entire world, his career, everything gone, just as the victim is now deceased and whatever family he had completely turned upside down. And now the relationship between community and police, if there was one, is tarnished even further with everything that's going on. Why? Everything that's happening in the world of law enforcement is going to be highly scrutinized, and rightfully so. There's nothing wrong with that because we should be called to the carpet. We should have to answer for any action that's taken place because that's with great responsibility, with great authority comes great responsibility. With great authority comes great responsibility. And now more than ever, everybody is looking at everything that's happening. And so that brings me to my second point. When you have cases like this is why we're seeing the calls for defunding the police. Now, I think it's important that you understand that there's so much information out there, and few people are actually willing to do the work to dig in and say, or ask themselves, what does this actually mean? Right? What does it mean to defund the police? Are they saying firing every police officer in this agency and getting rid of them? No. Are they saying, even when this happened in Camden, New Jersey, it was essentially like, hey, we're scrapping everyone and starting over. You have to reapply. What they're doing right now in Minneapolis is they're talking about doing something similar. It's yet to be seen. It's continuing to evolve. But when people are crying for defunding the police, even that has different definitions. Some people are saying, yes, not only defund the police, get rid of them altogether. We don't want any more police officers in this city, in this county, in this state, in this region, in this area, whatever. Some people believe that. Obviously, I don't think that is an intelligent response to this. I think that they're absolutely, like anything else, it can fall on a spectrum. But what the reality of defunding the police is that, hey, let's reallocate dollars. So if police department X has a $500 million budget, we're going to cut them down to, say, $400 million or $350 million. And we're going to take that money, which was once earmarked for the police agency, and we're going to redirect it into some type of community social service. Now, here's my concern with this. That is a great idea. That is a great idea on paper, because I heard this from John Oliver the other night. He says, look, you want to be mad at police, rightfully so, be mad at police, but don't stop there. It's not the police's fault that every societal failing has fallen onto the shoulders of police officers in this country. It's not the police's fault that they defunded and completely deinstitutionalized all things mental health. It's not the police's fault that we have become the de facto response for marital issues, for family dynamics, for the education gaps in this country, for anything and everything. It's call the cops, call the cops, call the cops. We have lost our sense of community. We have lost our sense of community in policing one another, which is not policing with violence. Policing one another, a true sense of community, a true sense of neighbor, of holding each other accountable, knowing right from wrong, following basic guidelines of decency, following guidelines of spreading kindness and love and caring for one another. We've lost our way. We have lost our way. And so it's anytime there's a problem or a perceived problem, call the cops. Call the cops. Call the cops. And guess what? Oftentimes, the cops showing up are not equipped. They are not trained. They are not qualified. They are not able to handle that call. And because of the cultural issue within law enforcement, the best thing and the easiest thing and the quickest thing, what they do know how to do is go right to the force continuum. Presence, verbal commands, and then go right up the force continuum. And we see quickly how things can escalate into a use of force incident, because maybe I'm not comfortable when I don't know what it is I'm facing. I firmly believe the reasons why police officers in this country use force more than not is because they're either afraid for their life, that's a real thing, or they lack the education and the insight as to what's happening in front of them. And this is what I see oftentimes with the mental health world. It's like, look, I don't know if I don't have crisis intervention training, if I don't have basics of mental health, if I haven't been through a mental health first aid course, and I show up to a scene where there's somebody with schizoaffective disorder that's non-med compliant, and they're actively hallucinating, they're psychotic, they're acting incredibly symptomatic based on their diagnosis, but as an officer, I have no idea what it is that I'm looking at. How would you expect me to handle that call? And here's what I would also say. If you're calling the police, it's probably because you don't know how to handle that call. But the problem is that when police show up, you suddenly have an expectation, I would say an unfair expectation, that they're going to handle it exactly as you believe you would, yet didn't. So again, this isn't like, oh, woe is us and pity, pity the poor police officer. What I'm saying is like everyone needs to be individually responsible for their choices. Everybody needs to be individually responsible for their choices. If you are calling the police to show up to any situation, it's because you or that situation, the circumstances have exceeded your capability or your belief that you can resolve that situation. And so you call the police, but here's what you need to know. Oftentimes the police are not adequately trained for every societal failing that they're responding to. They're just not. And that's not to let them off the hook. But we have to make sure that we have not just opinions, not just judgments, but that we have facts and we have evidence, and our beliefs and our opinions are somewhat substantiated based on reality and not just some farce that we've pulled out of the air. Because how does that advance anything? Everybody is responsible. Yes, the police are responsible for doing the job that they're called to do better, smarter. Yes, the citizens of their communities are responsible for educating themselves into becoming more willing and more available to police their own selves and to police their communities and to educate themselves. We cannot stay the course that we're on right now. We just simply cannot. It is so divisive. There is so much hatred and anger and frustration and everyone turning their back on everyone else. It is incredibly toxic. And I'm genuinely concerned about the direction this country is going. If we don't stop what we're doing, just take a pause, look yourself in the mirror, and ask yourself, what's important now? And follow that up with, is it necessary? And I would just ask that you take a moment to be genuinely honest with yourself. Answer those questions. What's important now? And is this necessary? And then proceed to whatever it is that you're doing. Like always, we'd appreciate a subscribe. Thank you so much. Look forward to connecting again soon. Take care, everybody.